Welcome to the June 5th, 2012 meeting of the Glendale City Council. May we have a roll call, please?
Council members: Friedman.
Here.
Manukian.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Mayor Quintero.
Here. The flag salute will be led by Councilmember Najarian.
Will you all please rise? Place your right hand over your heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the invocation. Mr. Mayor and Council, today is Election Day, an important day that should remind every American why we are the beacon of freedom and hope in the world. As scores of people go to the polls, hopefully everyone who's eligible to vote in the primary elections. The famous New England statesman Daniel Webster's words ring true today as when he wrote them over a century and a half ago, when he said, "As we go to the polls, we remind ourselves that every elector is a trustee as well for others as themselves, and that every measure he or she supports has an important bearing on the interests of others as well as on his or her own." We pray that today's results reflect the greater will as well as that of the people, and that as the residents of this city, we remember that we are aware of the impact of our choices and decisions on all residents. Let today we remember this and act always with this thought in mind. Amen.
Okay. Thanks. Mr. Kasakian, may we have a report?
The agenda for the June 5th, 2012 regular meeting of the Glendale City Council was posted on Thursday, May 31st, 2012 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
What's next?
Next is presentations and appointments. At 3A is agenda preview for the meetings of June 12, 2012.
Ms. Spears.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, for the June 12th Glendale Housing Authority as well as the Glendale Successor Agency, we don't have any business agenda items. For the Glendale City Council meeting to commence at 6 p.m., we have a number of presentations that evening, as well as one action item, actually. Director of Public Works, this is a levy of annual assessment in preparation of the engineer's report for fiscal year 2012-13 for the North San Fernando Road Corridor Landscape Maintenance District. And that evening we also have a hearing. This is Director of Administrative Services Finance. This is the city's proposed Glendale budget and citywide fee schedule for the upcoming fiscal year 2012-2013. And that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. What's next?
At 3B is a proclamation designating the week of June 12, 2012 as Philippine Independence Week.
We have some individuals who can come to the lectern, and we're here to pick up the proclamation, receive the proclamation. The proclamation reads as follows: whereas this is the 114th year of independence by the Republic of the Philippines, and in recognition, many Filipino communities in California and throughout the world will celebrate this historic event with appropriate festivities. The outbreak of the Philippine Revolution in 1896 and the declaration of Philippine independence on June 12, 1898, marks the Philippines as having the first constitutional democracy in Asia. Filipino Americans constitute the largest ethnic group among Asian Pacific Islanders Americans, and the anniversary celebration of Philippine independence reminds the people of this state of the historic and cultural benefits that Californians have received and will continue to receive from the Filipino American community. The Filipino American Business Association of Glendale, and we call FEBAG, a nonprofit group of business and professional men and women, exist in this great community for the sole purpose of helping and serving to provide exemplary business and leadership and community services. Now therefore I, Frank Quintero, Mayor of the City of Glendale, do hereby proclaim the week of June 12, 2012 as Philippine Independence Week, and invite the citizens of Glendale to attend the Philippine Independence Day celebration on Thursday, June 14th at 6 p.m. at Noipits, a local restaurant located at 933 North Brand Boulevard, the corner of Brand and Glen Oaks. And I will have that noted Filipino-American Dave Weaver. Proclamation now.
those that don't know, my wife's Filipina. So, and she would be here tonight, except her sister flew in from Hawaii to Las Vegas for a class reunion. So, you know, Linda had to go see her sister. Any excuse to go to Las Vegas.
To Las Vegas, that's right.
She'll be back Thursday. So,
Great.
proud to present this to you. You do realize the Filipinos are the largest Asian group in Glendale now.
Yes.
Yeah, all the hospitals are local.
Thank you, Mayor Frank Quintero and members of the Glendale City Council. Tonight, I am joined by members of the Filipino-American Business Association of Glendale and several of our past presidents to thank you for this proclamation declaring the week of June 12 as Philippine Independence Week in the jewel city of Glendale. We are grateful for this recognition and your support of the Filipino community, which has continued to increase in numbers. There is a fundamental right to culture, to honor each other's unique heritage, including the right to express and communicate, to practice customs and traditions, and to be treated with respect. The cultural diversity in Glendale is a positive social value and the source of our cultural vitality. It is a well of richness from which we draw our new social reforms and possibilities. However, in order to accomplish this, we cannot be complacent and passive. We need to learn about each other's values and cultures. We need to touch as many people in order to succeed, and our lasting legacy would be to see beneath the surface of our actions and foster great relationships with other cultures. In celebration of the 114th anniversary of Philippine independence, we would like to invite you and everybody in Glendale to our newest destination, Noy Pits, located at the corner of Glen Oaks and Brand Boulevard, for food and entertainment at 6 p.m. on Thursday, June 14. Mabuhay!
Thank you. And please introduce your guests with you, the former
The guest here
presidents.
is President Edith Fuentes. She's actually the incoming president of FABAG. Arlene and Nellie. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
Next is presentation of trophies to the Junior Ambassadors Recycling Challenge winners. And to present these and speak on them, Pauline Ferguson, Chair of Clean and Beautiful Glendale, along with Sam Engel.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, as we end the school year, it's time for us to always present the winners and participants in our various outreach and education programs. This weekend, tonight, we'll actually be presenting the awards to the middle school education program, which is called the Junior Ambassadors. Many of you may know the Committee for Clean and Beautiful Glendale. They have programs that they provide in the schools and work in partnership with us in the City of Glendale to make sure that we meet the City's Council's strategy, that we educate our community before we hold them responsible for the things that we expect them to do. We do in-school education programs at the elementary school level, at the middle school level, and to a degree at the high school level. The Junior Ambassador Program was created to provide continuity for students who had previously participated in the I Love My Neighborhood poster contest in a manner that was more mature for a middle school age student and for the type of audience as middle schoolers become as they move on. Students learn about three major topics as they participate in this program through the school year. The first is litter and its impact on our community. The second is stormwater pollution prevention. And the final one is recycling and waste reduction. During the process of dealing with these three topics, they learn leadership skills, which they then in turn use to influence their peers on the school campus, as well as their friends and relatives, to behave in a more environmentally responsible manner. The Middle School Recycling Challenge is one of the tools that the students use to persuade their peers to become better environmental stewards, and it's just one part of their program. What it does is it pits all of the middle schools in the community in a contest, and They then see how much recycling that they can do relative to their schools and teaches them the value of the recycling because we partner with the Allen Company, who is the city's contractor for dealing with recycling. The Allen Company then provides cash awards to the schools to the degree at which they finished in terms of the contest. The Recycling Challenge wouldn't be possible without the buy-in of our school system and the partnership that we have with them, but in particular with the partnership with Public Works. Because between Neighborhood Services and the Public Works Department, this is our outreach into the schools, and staff from both departments actually work with the teachers and sponsors at each of the Junior Ambassadors Clubs at the participating schools. Every participating school has already received their checks for the value of their recyclables this year, which runs out of the city's recycling center. This year, in the brief time that they did the recycling, they recycled over 1,800 pounds of plastic, aluminum, bottles, and cans. I would like to introduce Pauline Ferguson and invite all of the schools up here to join us as we get ready to present them with their trophies tonight. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, it's my pleasure to present this year's winners of the Recycling Challenge for the Glendale Middle Schools. Please join me. Pauline.
Yeah, I would. But at this time, I'd also like to invite Sandra Rodriguez, who without her, this program would never have got off the ground. Sandra? Okay. We're going to have the mayor come up. Mayor Quintero, you going to come up and give off the trophies, please? Honorable mention was Roosevelt. Congratulations. Third place is awarded to Rosemount Middle School. Second place is awarded to First Lutheran School. And the 2012 Junior Ambassador Recycling Challenge champions are the Wilson Middle School. We're asking the first place winners to say a few words. Girls.
Hello. Hi, President of the Junior Ambassadors at Wilson Middle School, Gabriela Valencia. I'm Vice President of Junior Ambassadors in Wilson Middle School. My name's Tam Cantos. I'm Sylvia Velasquez, and I'm part of the Junior Ambassadors Club.
I'm Karen Burleson, and I'm part of the Junior Ambassadors Club.
Hello. To begin with, I want to say thank you. I think we all want to say that. Junior Ambassadors has been an amazing experience. It could not have been possible without the help and support you have given us. We began this year's Junior Ambassadors with a determination to help our environment and came out with so much more. Not only did we learn many ways to help our environment by recycling, gardening, and helping each other, but we learned about the importance of teamwork, dedication, and friendship.
We learned the asset of working hard and working together. We shared ideas that became successful, and we taught each other that we are able to make a change if we try the best we can. Our teachers, classmates, faculty, and other wonderful people supported us with encouraging smiles and great advice that boosted our courage to win. Not only did they give us recyclables to collect, but they were kind enough to maintain the faith in us to win this year's recycling challenge. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Mr. Mayor, if I may add, Wilson's my alma mater. Congratulations. And the young lady on the left, she and her mother are two of the hardest workers in decorating the Glendale Rose Float. They're there every day. Very proud.
Very good.
See you in December.
Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, next, please.
Next is City Council and staff comments.
Comments? Friedman?
Let Mr. Mnuchin go first. It's fine.
Oh, yes. There are rumors going around the city and the city and the communities, and I want to put those rumors to rest. The 2 stickers on my suit does not indicate that I voted twice. It just indicates that I received 2 stickers. You still have till 8 o'clock to go and vote. It takes you 10 minutes. Get out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Friedman.
Just wanted to mention a few events I attended this week. First, last Thursday, the House of Armenia, which is the Armenian consulate here in Glendale, had a wonderful art exhibit. They managed to draw people from all over the Los Angeles region for the art exhibit of Jean Kazanjan. And I didn't have the pleasure of meeting him, although he was there. But what's interesting is that he's lived in France for many years. He now lives in Venice. And so the consulate had a lot of French people who were there who were fans of his work. And my husband, who's French, for him it was a real treat to be able to speak French to people all night long. But it was a really wonderful exhibit. And I just want to really commend the House of Armenia for turning that building into what's really a community center and a place for art exhibits, and they're planning on doing more of them. So the next time they do it, hopefully, members of the community will attend as well. There's a sculpture by the artist in front of the building. It's a beautiful, beautiful sculpture. If you drive down Central, please take a look. They also are interested, and this is more of a message to council, they're interested in donating a piece of art possibly to the city as public art for us to place somewhere within the city. So I would ask the city to reach out to them and to explore that possibility. Sunday, like probably many of you, I attended the Montrose Arts and Crafts Festival up in Montrose, which is a wonderful event that they do every year. It's a 2-day event, and they have the farmers market as well. And it was just packed. It was just so crowded up there, you could hardly walk through it. And it's 3 of the long blocks, and then it spreads out up and down Ocean View, a block as well. So I want to commend them and congratulate them for another wonderful event. And I believe that is it for this week. Thank you.
Anyone else? I also had a few events that I attended I want to talk about. The Glendale Community College graduation was quite uplifting. Lots of graduates and all of the families in the audience, so that was a great event. Then the Glendale Latino Association had a scholarship breakfast, very well attended. Over $16,000 were raised for scholarships, and some of the kids had very compelling stories as well as very compelling GPAs. I've never been around so many kids with 4-point whatever. Not ever being a 4-point person myself, I was very impressed. Then the Pat Brown Institute had their annual banquet, and this is an organization that operates out of Cal State Los Angeles. As the name implies, it's dedicated to some of the vision that Pat Brown, as the governor, had for this state. And then finally, the Whiting Woods Homeowner Association morning event was very well attended, and went on to the Montrose Arts and Craft. As Ms. Friedman mentioned, just keeps getting bigger and super, super well attended. And I think it works real well for the merchants, in addition, obviously, to the vendors. But I saw a lot of activities in the restaurants and in the shops, so they're doing a great job up there. Is that it? Mr. Ochoa, did you have a...
Just one thing, sir. We wanted to ask the council's indulgence in pushing item 8C regarding billboards and advertising. to the June 26th agenda.
Okay. Sounds good. Next, please.
Next on the agenda is consent items. The following are routine and may be acted upon by one motion. Any member of council or the audience requesting separate consideration may do so by making such requests before a motion is proposed.
Okay, I have a card to pull 5B.
C.
And you want to pull C? Okay, so we'll pull 5B and 5C. I have a motion.
Second?
Roll call.
Council members: Friedman,
Yes.
Manukian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Mayor Quintero.
Yes. Should read 5B into the record, please.
5B is interim general manager of Glendale Water and Power regarding amendment to service authorization agreement with CSGI Systems. B1 is motion authorizing the extension of service authorization agreement with CSGI Systems to extend said agreement through December 31st, 2012 in an amount not to exceed $240,000.
Okay, I have one card, Herbert Milano.
Thank you. Mayor Quintero, members of the City Council and staff, my name is Herbert Milano. I have a couple of questions with regard to this particular agreement. I believe that the Glendale Water and Power is moving towards monthly billing, number one. And second, there's another major initiative to move towards electronic billing. And I'm assuming that there will be fewer and fewer surface mail type billing being done in the future. So I guess my question is, how does this contract impact the trends and the objectives of the Glendale Water and Power to reduce the number of printed documents and move aggressively towards electronic format with regard to this contract? Thank you.
Have an answer?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as we continue to move forward with aspects of the AMI system, there are as many features to that system that allow the billing us to change the way that we do billing and go to a more electronic system. Right now, as I understand it, payment, we're about a 40% electronic payment in our system. But we still have quite a bit of manual billing that we have to do. In this particular case, we're just asking for an extension during our RFP period for a new vendor. But at some point in time, I guess to answer the question succinctly, we continue to work on it, and we continue to push in the future to get away as much as possible from traditional paper-type billing.
Okay, thank you. Roll call.
Wait,
We need a
I
motion.
move 5B1.
Second?
Okay. Roll call.
Council members: Friedman,
Yes.
Manukian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Mayor Quintero.
Yes. Will you read 5C into the...
Certainly. 5C is Director of Community Development regarding Alex Regional Theater third quarter report from Glendale Arts for the period of January 1 to March 31, 2012. At C1 is a motion to note and file the report.
I have one speaker, Mr. Manukian.
Yes. Is that 3 minutes or 5 minutes?
Free for you.
In the discussion of the Alex Theater's quarterly report, it says, as you review the attached financial statements, I don't see financial statements. Where are the financial statements? There's an accounting of the cash balances, but, and I'm looking at the internet, that's what I have to go by. I don't see financial statements.
Members of the council, Mr. Mayor, I'm Elisa Glickman. I'm the interim CEO of Glendale Arts. It was our understanding that we submitted a cash accounts. This is my first quarterly report, so you'll have to excuse my error. So we are more than happy to submit additional financial statements at a later date if you so need.
Because the discussion refers to
Oh, sure, absolutely.
surpluses and depreciation.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah, it was my understanding that we simply submitted cash reports for all of our reserve accounts, but we're more than happy to submit anything that's in public record.
Okay, well.
We'll do that. We'll take care of that tomorrow.
Okay, thank you very much.
Right, and in our packets,
It's just
in
a cash.
paper, we have the cash accounts, but not the...
Right.
Okay, do I have a...
I have a question, just generally
Sure,
speaking.
Ms.
We used to get this under the redevelopment agency, and now since we know what's happened to the redevelopment agency, does the city council have any jurisdiction over this anymore? I'd like to get the information, but realistically speaking, what?
Well, until the state orders us to move the Alex back to the successor agency, it would still be the city council. And once the state presumably orders us to move it back to the successor agency, then it would be under the successor agency. I'd defer to the city attorney.
So it's still ours at this point?
Well, it belongs to the successor agency, but either
the
the
letter
city
is
council...
addressed to the successor agency from Glendale Arts.
And given that the city council acts as the successor agency, there's no real legal issue with us getting the reports at this point. But if we get an order in the future regarding the Alex or any of the other successor agency assets, as far as disposal or whatever, then we might have to address who is the proper entity to receive these reports.
Right. And just so people who don't usually watch our afternoon programming, redevelopment by act of the Assembly has been vaporized, and they have essentially taken over or will take over the Alex Theater. We're fighting for it. We're trying to maintain control over it, but it's something that the successor agency may be forced to actually sell. We're all fighting very hard to stop that from occurring, but it's a real threat, I think, to the vibrancy of our downtown. We have great cultural events, musical events, great entertainment, mixers. We have all sorts of events there, and it might not be ours much longer. So that's what we're sort of referring to when I'm asking these questions that may seem kind of strange at this point, but if you haven't heard, this is the situation.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Move 5C1.
And a second? Second. Roll call.
Council members Friedman,
Yes.
Manukian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Weber,
Aye.
Mayor Quintero.
Yes. Next, please.
Next is oral communications. This is a 3-minute community event announcement portion. We'll revisit the full 5-minute portion at the conclusion of all city business.
Okay, I have 2 cards. Can't quite read the first name, but the last name is Alpern.
Good evening. I'm Leor Alpern from the South Coast Air Quality Management District. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to make a quick public announcement. I believe you all have a copy of this flyer, which is on the screen, and also some are in the back of the room here for attendees, and also there's a public service announcement that's been playing on the city's channel. This is for the AQMD's annual electric lawnmower exchange program. As some of you may recall, about a year ago, AQMD Governing Board member Michael Cacchiotti was here with an actual lawnmower, and we explained the program whereby people can bring their existing lawnmowers that are gasoline-powered, polluting, to this exchange program, and for a highly subsidized, reduced price, by registering and then bringing their old lawnmower, they can get a brand-new zero-emission electric lawnmower and do their part to help clean the air in the region. The nearest location to Glendale is going to be this Saturday at the parking lot of the Rose Bowl, and all people have to do is go onto our website, aqmd.gov, register, and bring their lawnmower on Saturday. All the information will be very easy for them and will be emailed to them. Also, 1-888-425-6247 is the number to call if there are any questions. So I wanted to come and just make a quick announcement, and we hope to see lots of Glendale residents this Saturday.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Leon Mayer.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor Quintero, members of the council and staff. My name is Leon Mayer, and I'm here partially on behalf of the Friends of the Library. But first of all, I want to make an announcement on behalf of the director of the Brand Library Associates, Arlene Vidor. On June 14th, we're going to have at the Glendale Central Library Auditorium, because Brand Library is being reconditioned right now, we're going to have a special program called Artful Lives. Artful Lives is a story of a famous photographer, Edward Weston, and his photography. And it's about things that happened in the 1920s. And believe it or not, Mr. Weston had his Photoshop in what was then known as Tropical. That was South Glendale. And he's made Glendale famous. I don't think we've made him famous, but he's made Glendale famous. And the book, Artful Lives, was written by Beth Gates Warren, who has an MA degree in arts in art history from Northwestern University. And she was executive director at Sotheby's of New York. Sotheby's, another famous auction studio. And it was published by the J.P. Getty Museum in Los Angeles, another famous connection with this book and this event we're going to have on June 14th at our library. And Edward Weston has done this photographic work, and there will be slides shown, interesting slides shown of his work from the book, Our Artful Lives. So I urge anybody who has any interest in the arts to come to the library on June 14th. My next event will be Gustavo Arellano. My announcement will be simpler than my last announcement. Gustavo Arellano will be at the library on June 20th, 7 o'clock. Gustavo Arellano is famous now. He's been famous for some years. He's written books about Mexican culture, Mexican-American culture. And the book he's written now is Taco USA, How Mexican Food Conquered America. And he has so many stories to tell, real-life stories about the eating habits of America, how they've changed, and how he makes the claim that Mexican food has conquered America. And that'll be...
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
That'll be June 20th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, please.
Next on the agenda under action items is 8A, Director of Public Works regarding public auction of city-owned properties located at 765 Glenmore Boulevard and 1652 Gladys Drive. At 8A1 is a resolution of intent to set a public hearing for auction of the city-owned properties.
Mr. Ochoa.
Yes, sir. Both this item and the next have to deal with setting a public hearing for us to actually auction off real property that the city of Glendale owns. And in this case, two single-family homes at the respective addresses. I'll let Mr. Zern answer any questions the council might have.
Are there any questions from the council?
The opening bid is what, $350,000?
Yes.
Okay, if there's no other questions, do I have a
I'll move 8A1.
Second.
roll call?
Council members: Friedman,
Yes.
Danukian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Mayor Quintero.
Yes. Next, please.
8B is Director of Public Works regarding public auction of city-owned properties located at 749 Glenmore Boulevard and 1644 Glass Drive and 1648 Gladys Drive. B1 is a resolution of intent to set a public hearing for auction of the city-owned properties.
Mr. Ochoa.
Yes, sir. Once again, this is a piece of property, one that is a single-family home, and the other two are vacant parcels, but the same applies here. Do you have any questions for Mr. Zern?
Mr. Manukian.
You know, I hesitated voting yes on the first one, and my concern is, we have litigation on these properties, and now we're auctioning them off to cover some of the costs. What are assurances to the city and to the taxpayers that next time there's excessive rain, we won't have the same issue and get sued on the same properties, end up paying large sum for settlement and having to sell them again at maybe a tenth of the cost to us? Do we have any assurances like that? Is it prudent to sell these properties at this point if we're having problems with rain runoffs?
Well, Mr. Mayor Quintero, Councilmember Manukian, keep in mind that we made all of the repairs to the streets prior to coming to you with the proposal to sell these properties. So Gladys Drive, which was identified as the point or one of the points where rainwater may have come and dated the hill. Not to mention the fact that the hill itself had some structural issues, but the road's been fixed. The hill's been fixed. Retaining walls have been installed. So
Does that expose us to additional liability because since we're the ones who fixed it?
Well, I'd have to defer to the city attorney.
Councilmember Manukian, the roads were designed now to obviously provide the maximum protection feasible. There's no, I can't, to give an assurance like 100% we won't ever get to it again, I can't do that, but it's obviously in a much better condition than it was when this rainstorm event happened in 2005. And to the extent that there's any, there could be any cause of action against the city for negligence, we'd be protected because we have immunities for that. And so we have more protections, obviously, than we did in 2005, both legally and from an engineering standpoint.
Did we have immunity before?
We are. No. One, with respect to the negligence, we didn't because the way the street was done at such a long time ago that we didn't have the same immunity we have now, which is basically a statutory immunity for when plans are approved by the city council. You have an immunity for that. In addition, that particular lawsuit had an inverse condemnation liability that attached to it, and that's always an issue. That's with any public improvement. That's always going to be an issue in the future.
Isn't there additional any owner that chooses to fill up those properties must do whatever slope protection is required to the satisfaction of the city engineer?
That's correct.
Yes. And I mean, I understand, but that was done before, and it cost us an arm and a leg.
That road was probably put in, the 1930s. Engineering is, hydraulics, hydrology have greatly improved since those times.
And also, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Manukian, there was issues with the structural, I'll call it the structural integrity of the slope, that there was fractures in the existing soils, that the soil was not stable. So that's all been cleared out and improved as well. And as Mr. Weaver alluded to, before these houses can either be occupied or can be rebuilt, they have a number of other issues that they'll have to meet, conditions they'll have to meet before they can successfully build or occupy.
In my own opinion, the hydrology of the area indicates that up at the end of the road, watershed was changed, directing additional water in that subzone into the street, causing more water to pond there than before.
That situation doesn't exist now?
It's all been addressed.
Mr. Najarian.
I wanted to address some of the reasoning and the manner in which we obtained these properties, but that was initially discussed in closed session.
Well,
am I in violation of that if I discuss it at this point?
Well, no. What you're referring to had to do is another piece of litigation with respect to the underlying lawsuit. I mean, that's all public record at this point.
So the way we got these homes in the first place is the previous homeowners claimed as part of their damages that their homes were completely worthless, destroyed, and of nil value. So as we were discussing the settlement value at that point, the idea was raised, well, hey, if these homes are supposedly zero value, why are we letting these homeowners maintain them? There would be some value in them, so it was an attempt to salvage some value out of these properties, and we're hoping it brings us something. Obviously, they're not full value homes. There's a history to them, but it was just a way to offset some of the the cash that we paid to resolve these claims, and I think council agreed that, and our attorneys agreed that that would be a small attempt to recoup some of our liability payout on that case. So we didn't seek them out and say, boy, we really want this house. We said, well, as long as we're paying for them, we might as well have them and get something back.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll move up. Let's see, 8B1.
Second. Roll call.
Council members: Friedman.
Yes.
Manukian.
Yes.
Najarian.
Yes.
Weaver.
Aye.
Mayor Quintero.
Yes. So 8C has been pulled. 9, please.
Director of Community Development regarding digital billboard signs. At C1 is a motion directing staff to proceed with an option for digital billboard.
No,
I'm sorry,
it's
that
been
is
pulled.
the one that we removed.
Yeah.
I got so excited about getting to wear my auctioneer hat again. That
It's starting to show.
Looking
Mr.
forward to
Gasaki.
that.
That's right. We have a next under hearings at 9A, Director of Public Works regarding authorization to vacate portions of San Fernando Road and Pacific Avenue vacation case numbers 165B and 166B. 9A1 is a resolution ordering vacation case number 165V. At 9A2 is a resolution ordering vacation case number 166V. At 3 is a resolution adopting plan numbers 12-224 and 12-225. At 4 is a resolution authorizing the sale of surplus property adjacent to 4648 San Fernando Road.
Mr. Ochoa.
Yes, sir. Once we completed, the Public Works Department completed the San Fernando Road Rehabilitation Project and realigned several different intersections, we created as part of that action 2 surplus remnant properties, one of which we owned the underlying fee, one of which we did not, and that property is reverting back to the underlying fee owner, but we still have the surplus property that we currently own. This came to the council previously as a way of disposing of this property. I'll have Mr. Zern walk you through the actual specifics of the project.
Behind me is just an aerial view. We're focusing on 2 pieces of property that are on the San Fernando Road and Pacific, the Y there. And this is where we did a lot of extensive work to try to realign the street, make it a little safer for pedestrians and motorists. What primarily we did was to realign the curbs, bring the curbs out, thus creating some surplus on the properties behind them. In both cases, we approached the property owners for permission to right to entry, actually, so that we could do the work, which they were very, very gracious to do. We indicated at the time that there would be some surplus property created, and it would likely revert back. In one case, as Mr. Ochoa stated, the underlying fee title is the owner is the property owner, so when we vacate, it goes back to them. In the other case, very rare, about 1% of the roadway system, the city owns underlying fee title. Don't ask me why or how that was established here. I really don't know, but when we dug up the records, that was the case. In that case, we have to sell the property. We negotiated a fee, a sale price with the owner, and which they agreed to. So that's what we have. I don't want to turn around and...
Well, makes a better intersection, doesn't it?
Absolutely, Mr. Weaver. That was our intention. For those that have traveled that intersection in the past, you know it can be confusing. It can be especially dangerous for pedestrians because, and you know we have bus stops in that area. So really what we did is we brought the curves quite a bit out. We also made some aesthetic improvements so that bend right there looks a lot nicer than it did. But we really narrowed the street in some of the widest areas. Oftentimes going north on Pacific was confusing to motorists. You have that median, that the existing median that was there. There was sometimes confusion on which way to go. So this enabled us to we believe, greatly improve motorist safety along with pedestrian safety.
Yeah, it's made a big difference, and especially in during the rush hour in the evening, in the afternoon, evening. That's a lot smoother now.
Mayor, did you open the hearing?
Open
You open the hearing?
Okay, I'll open the public hearing.
Did you want to close the public hearing?
I see no one
I just
coming
have a
to...
quick question.
I'll close the public hearing. Ms. Friedman.
Is there any room in those medians for a couple trees? It's such a bare, hot intersection.
There, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Friedman, there's that one existing median that sits sort of like in the middle of the street, which is I believe it's an asphalt median, maybe a concrete median, can't remember actually. But there is potential for us to do something there. The only issue would be sight distance, because that is such a busy intersection with traffic going so many different directions.
Right, but if it's got a high canopy,
Yeah, if we can certainly talk to the traffic engineers and see if there's some ability to do something. Or, I mean, the other is to keep low-lying vegetation on there that just greens it up, but you keep it down so that you don't have any sight distance issues.
I would just appreciate if you'd look into those.
Absolutely.
I think, just looking at the aerial, you can see that it's just so barren and concrete everywhere.
Absolutely.
And it is an entryway into the city in a lot of ways. But
It
I
is.
think a tree, which would give those pedestrians crossing some shade, the low plants can be a little hard to maintain, can't they, sometimes compared to a tree?
They can if we use the right type of landscaping. It actually can be virtually little or no maintenance. We did plant some additional trees. They may not be showing up on the aerial. And for those of you who have seen it on that, as San Fernando transitions into Pacific, which is now, I believe, a General Motors training center, we put up the fence and the landscaping there, which I think made a great improvement on that particular side.
Well, I just know that people do cross there a lot.
Yes.
And if you get stuck in a median and there's nothing around you, no trees or anything, it can also feel very exposed and unsafe.
We will definitely
happens
look.
to barrel through. Okay.
We will
Thank
definitely
you.
look at that.
Question.
Turn.
Didn't we vacate some property at this intersection about a year and a half ago?
Well,
more recently?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Najarian, it's the same property. We came to you in a different setting and discussed it, but it's the same piece of property.
Same stuff, okay.
Yeah, it's actually just the one piece that was up for sale.
Mayor, I'll move 9A, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Second.
Roll call.
Council members Friedman,
Yes.
Nukian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Mayor Quintero.
Yes. Next, please.
Next, we return to oral communication. This is the full 5-minute portion. Discussion is limited to items not part of this agenda. A speaker will be allowed 5 minutes. Council may question or respond to a speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. City manager may refer the matter to the appropriate department for investigation and report.
Harry Zavos, followed by Herbert Milano.
Council, my name is Harry Zavos. I'm a citizen of Glendale. Last week, contrary to comments from the dais, I raised for the first time the fact that under Article 11, Section 22 of the City Charter, electrical fees in GWP's surplus fund could be transferred only to the city's reserve fund. That fund exists to advance cash as needed to other city funds pending collection of ad valorem taxes. With one exception, those cash advances must be repaid to that reserve fund. I also read from the charter that GWP receipts are excluded from being credited to the city's general budget fund, the fund that supports general services like libraries, police, planning, and public works, and so forth. I then stated the public had a right to know how the city can legally transfer approximately $21 million of electrical fees to support services provided by the general budget fund when the charter precludes such use of GWP receipts and only allows their transfer to the general reserve fund. Tonight I ask the council to tell us if it will provide us with such an explanation that is tied to the specific language of the city's charter, Article 11, Sections 14, 15, and 22. Also last week, on a separate subject, I indicated that 2 weeks ago I made a prima facie case that a change in electrical rates under Article 13C of the California Constitution requires a vote of the people. I asked the council to request of the city attorney a formal legal opinion on the issue and that be made available to the public. If I understood correctly, that opinion is being prepared, but will not be made public unless the council so directs. So tonight, I ask the council, which should be in favor of transparency and an informed public, to direct the city attorney to release the opinion to the public, which after all pays for its preparation, concurrently with its release to the city council, so that the public may have optimal time to scrutinize and study it. Finally, I try to be careful and accurate in my public discourse. I shy away from straw man arguments. That's when you misstate a person's position, the straw man, and then attack the straw man as if it's a legitimate attack on the person's actual position. I believe on occasions I've been on the receiving end of straw man arguments from the dais. I will not dwell on this other than to say I've taken care to accurately, as best I can, state the city's positions, and I believe I deserve to have my positions treated in the same way. In that way, the public marketplace of ideas, a requisite of functioning democracy, is best served.
Herbert Milano, followed by Mike Mohill.
Mayor Quintero, members of the City Council and staff, my name is Herbert Milano. I have a PowerPoint to present to you that covers 10-year spans of the Glendale city's budget and the comprehensive annual report and information from the census. Thank you. It has been my contention for a long time that one of the essential pieces of information that the public needs to get is a trend analysis of what has transpired in the city of Glendale year to year, ideally going back 10 years, so that we can have a sense of the future financial condition of Glendale, the financial resources that are maybe available, and the impact on the community. Now, in 5 minutes, I cannot present the impact totally, but this time I brought in information that is made available through the CAFR, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, that is available on the city's website under the Finance Department. What I have before you is a PowerPoint, and it goes as follows. This is a City of Glendale 10-year trends, information from the census, the CAFR, and the city's budget, and from the annual federal Form W-3, which is the transmittal document that goes with the W-2s. Between 2000 and in the year 2001, fiscal year ending 2001, we had a budget of $437 million. As of the end of 2011, we have a budget of $810, an 85% increase. And if we were to take a 25% inflation rate, had not there been any changes, we would have had a budget that should be around 546. What I don't have here is the difference annually between that 546 and the 810. Where did the money go? But we do know the following. There was a population decrease between 2000 and 2010, according to the census, of 1.6%. We have employee gross salaries. This is from the W-3 transmittal document. Between 2008 and 2009, it remained fairly flat, but significant increases in 2010. That includes the earned income plus the deferred earned income that is generally paid after retirement. If we take the actual total amounts of the combined employee and employer contributions to the CalPERS, we basically have, as you can see, a fairly significant annual pension payments made. The city's expense for 2001, 2002 was nearly zero. But if you were to go back to through the 1990s, it was fairly consistent at around $6 million annually. And now it's about $24 million annually. And even though CalPERS has made some changes, that allows for the, should we say, deferment of that calculation over 30 years. We had an inflation rate of 25%. We had a payroll expense increase of 73%. Pension expense increases of 300%, and medical insurance expenditures nearing 500%. The number of employees with salaries over $100,000 increased in this last fiscal year to 669. Full-time employees in 2001 were 1,692. Full-time employees in 2011, 1,889, an increase of almost 200 employees, 11% increase. There was an increase in police officers, sworn police officers, from 219 to 255, an increase of 16%. Management employees, from the last document that we have of the worker demographic report, we had a 40% increase. Public safety expenditures between 2001 and 2009, over 105% for safety, police, and fire. And actually brings us to only one conclusion, that the only way that Glendale can structurally fix this budget is through pay and pension reform. And it is my suggestion that the City Council, as soon as possible after you complete your budget, to tackle what is absolutely needed. The city needs a complete overhaul of its pension, and pension reform is practically the only way that you can fix the problems long term. Thank you very much.
Mike Mohill, followed by Margaret Hammond.
Good evening, Mayor Quintero, council members in the viewing audience. My name is Mike Mohill. Last week, Councilman Weaver, in my opinion, displayed to the public his lack of knowledge of the U.S. Constitution, the California Brown Act, and the city charter. Councilman Weaver, the Brown Act allows anyone, regardless of their place of residence, to speak before the city council on any issue. Over the past several months, we have had a concerned citizen and law professor come before the City Council talking about the illegal transfer of millions of dollars from the water part of the GWP to the general fund as written in the City Charter. Money that was used to help pay the bloated salaries and pensions of our city employees or special pet projects by council members. Just think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Had the millions of dollars from the waterworks not been transferred to the general fund over the next 4 years, over the next 4 years, lost my place here. Let me go back one. I'm sorry, I lost my place here for a second. Just think about, ladies and gentlemen, had the millions of dollars from the waterworks not been transferred to the general fund over the next 4 years, which is on top of the already 50% water rate increases over the past 10 years. Now the People's Law Professor is tackling and presenting another legal opinion regarding the city charter and the GWP illegal transferring of millions of dollars from the electrical side of the GWP to the general fund. Our current city attorney, who is council's attorney and not the people's, like his predecessor, is stalling to prolong the judgment day, when the electrical rate monies will no longer be able to be transferred to the city employees. According to the city documents, over $200 million has been transferred illegally over the past 10 years from the GWP to the city employees. That money could have paid our necessary infrastructure repairs. Instead, we have millions of dollars of needed infrastructure repairs on hold and new bond obligations. Thank you, Professor Zavos, for bringing to the ratepayers' attention the illegal money transfers from the GWP into the pockets of our union employees. You are one of our heroes. I'd like to thank tonight the Glendale Police Department for doing the right thing and turning their information over to the district attorney in regard to the Montrose Farmers Market embezzlement case. Council members Freeman, Nigerian, Quintero, and Weaver, the 800-plus page transcript of the 28-count felony indictment charges on your good friend, John Draymond, has been published. Did you bother reading the transcripts? According to the transcript, in spring 2011, during the Montrose Farmers Market embezzlement investigation by the Glendale Police Department, the police department found a very revealing email on Mr. Draymond's computer. Former city manager Jim Starbird warned John Draymond on October 2010 that he may be under investigation for his condo remodel by ADI subcontractors. Additionally, he should get his records in order with a carbon copy to the city attorney, Scott Howard. The city manager's warning to Draymond was like telling the bank robbers the police were on their way. Glendale Police Detective Miguel Perez testified that several invoices for Draymond's business, Custom Photo Studios, had fake customers' email addresses and phone numbers. Bob Berger Jr., owner of Montrose Bowl, and Mark Nathanson, a developer, testified that photo restoration charged to them never occurred. Forensic evidence showed Draymond created the invoices on his computer in late 2010, but invoices were dated months earlier, Perez said. Council members, do you still deny being co-conspirators? Do you still claim that you did not know your friend and colleague John Draymond illegal condo makeover was done without permits? Are you going to circle the wagon again tonight to protect your hero, John Draymond, by remaining silent? Or are you going to answer my questions? Thank you. Name is Mike Mohill.
Margaret Hammond.
Good evening, Your Honor, members of the council, members of the City Council, and staff and audience. My name is Margaret Hammond, longtime resident of Glendale. Yeah, you can always find things wrong. I guess that was why the story goes that God threw the archangel out of heaven when it became a problem. So I guess you could always find reason to make complaints. I would like to make not a complaint, actually, and mine is that I would like to see more people calling the free bulky item pickup, 818-548-3916. I see a lot of mattresses and furniture and couches laying around on the streets again, so I'm hoping that you'll pick up that phone and keep up your neighborhood by getting rid of all the junk that lays around. Talk about heroes or non-heroes, whatever. I happen to belong to a group, they're old elderly ladies, I should say. Anyway, they happen to be the Women's Athletic Club of Glendale. They will have 90 years since they started. I guess women only had the vote maybe 2 or 3 years by the time they opened their club. And our average age is anywhere, I guess, it's probably 75 to 80. But today it was interesting. We had a luncheon, and at that luncheon we had a young lady that we were giving a scholarship. And these ladies all donate the money out of their own resources for that young lady to be able to attend a senior college. She goes to Glendale College right now, but to be able to go on to, I think she's CSU or something that she's talking about. So there's lots of good people. And again, I say, we have to look at the good side as well as the bad. Now, my bad side is I'm very unhappy about the hotels that are going to be allowed to be built in downtown Glendale without adequate parking. I've always screamed and raved and ranted about the lack of parking in Glendale. I don't care where you go in this city. I don't care where. I'm talking even in the north end, where it's north of up near Kenneth on, say, Pacific or any of those streets. There isn't enough parking. I've gone there and had to drive away because it was too far for me to walk from where I could drive to a meeting. But I'm saying it's just ridiculous to keep on allowing buildings or properties or whatever to be built without sufficient parking. It's absolutely stupid. But that's my beef right now, is parking as usual, because on my street it's a real problem, to the point, as I've said before, where people fight over a parking space. It's scary. And I don't want to belabor that, but I do think it needs to be kept in mind that when there's going to be people building big hotels and apartments and businesses, that there be sufficient parking. That is really a point. And then this weekend, my Adams Hill Neighborhood Association, I have to get that word right, it's no longer homeowners, are having a neighborhood garage sale. I think it's the largest one probably in Glendale. It's held because it encompasses the whole hill up there. And that ought to be wild with people coming in for the garage sale. But again, and people do come in, and it's amazing. You meet your neighbors and you see people. Now, my other big thing is, remember, National Night Out is going to be in August, the 1st of August. And again, this is a way to meet your neighbors, to get neighborhood watch going, and to, in my case, and Lenore, the Pacific Park one is to enable the people down there to be able to meet with the police and the fire, and let you know that they're their friends, that they are not there just to enforce rules or regulations, but also they're there to help them. And it really has helped. We've heard that over and over. And I think this will be our 4th year of doing it. And so it is a really terrific, we get a minimum, I think, of about 300 people. And I tell you, that Lenore Solis, she is a marvel. And she pays for a lot of the expenses out of her own pocket, just so that that event will continue. So I do want to say that it's a wonderful, how many all over the neighborhood? I think they had 60 or something of the neighborhood services, people getting together and having that night out and meeting their neighbors and friends and being able to communicate. Thank you very much.
Margaret, can you tell us when that garage sale is? You didn't say which day. Is it Saturday
I'm sorry,
or Sunday?
It's Saturday.
You know I love a good garage sale, so
Oh,
you know
yeah.
I love a good garage sale.
There'll be tons of them. I mean, they all have them out down there. It's all over the hill. And so it's really fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments?
Well,
Mr. John?
since the meeting has progressed so rapidly, I'd like to address some of Mr. Mohill's comments. And, we can talk about transfer from the utilities to the general fund. That's clearly a legitimate discussion that we can have. We can talk about pensions and pay and appropriate levels of compensation and the budget, and that's perfectly okay. But, we've got to clear the air of the stench of his scurrilous accusations against this council. We just can't let it lay out there, stinking up the room. I did read the 800 pages of the grand jury transcript. This council was not implicated, was not even mentioned in any way, shape, or form to assert that we are somehow co-conspirators goes too far, Mr. Mohill. Let's talk pension. Let's talk transfer. But when you make a knowingly false statement that we are implicated and we are co-conspirators with Mr. Draymond in the Montrose investigation, that just goes too far. And that's where you lose your credibility with me, and I think that's where you lose your credibility with the public. You've got a couple nuggets of legitimate issues that we're happy to discuss, but then you just drive the car off the deep end, and people walk out saying, what's this guy talking about? And that's what I'm saying right now. What are you talking about, Mr. Mohill? How can I take any of your comments regarding pension reform and high pay and budget issues and structural deficits to heart when you take that last step too far off the cliff, saying that we're co-conspirators, implying that in the transcripts and in the investigation we're implicated? That's just false. It's blatantly false, and you know that. And anyone who's read the transcript, and the DA knows it's false, and the defense attorneys know that there's no implication, because if we were implicated, this case, we would be companions with the investigation and prosecution of Mr. Draymond. So park it, Mr. Mohill, for your own good. Stick to reasonable issues, and I'll be happy to discuss it with you. And we disagree at times. Sometimes we agree. But it's that last step that's too far. Please, please. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Other comments? Well said, Mr. Najarian.
Second.
We are adjourned.